perhaps just on the outdoor advertisements, because that's where we had stopped the last time. Maybe let's look at the response of the county government and see whether they now have the records that they didn't have then. Because if they now have the records, then we don't need NMS here. If they don't have the records, then we'll need NMS to assist us. So maybe, Governor, you could read for us your response on that revenue from outdoor advertisements. And we see whether there's been an improvement from the last time that we met. And clerks, do we have written responses for each financial year, or it's all consolidated? For each financial year. Just help me get the right one.
This one is
2019, 20. Oh, it's this one.
1920. Yeah.
This is a.
Yeah, this one.
Is this a written the management response for 2019-20, the blue one, or these are supporting annexures? Sorry. This is only for legal.
Yeah.
So where's the one with the other details? I'm saying responses 1. This is for which financial year? 17-18.
Sure. Perhaps the county team can guide us on the documentation that is before us, so that we can follow together. Do you have an index, Kerich, of what is before us?
2019, 2020 going down. Okay. So for 20, these are supporting schedules. I want the management.
The management is
there. Okay. I have it. Yes, this is the one.
Yes.
Okay. If members, we are on the same page, we can proceed. Yes, Governor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that introduction. I agree that the best way to go about it is to look at what's cross-cutting around areas. The specific response you want now is on outlook, but I think we will also have a wider discussion on all the revenue issues. I think this is where we got stuck last time because of records that then required the NMS to give. So I'll read the response that we had given, and then I'll give an explanation, if that's in order, Chair.
Yeah, proceed.
Thank you. So revenue from outdoor advertisements, management response was that records on outdoor advertisement, license applications, and approved advertising activation have been provided to the external auditor for verification. The performance is an increase in display activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I asked my team to also provide a comparative analysis for the first quarter of this financial year compared to the previous financial year, pre-COVID, and then also post-COVID, that then can address that position that we had. Now, Chair, that's the response. But during the meeting, you remember there was information required from the e-construction system that the county used to use when it was still NCCG. And I explained that at that time, when NMS came on board, the NMS team asked for super administration rights of that system, because the NMS was then developing, together with the national government, a system of Nairobi plan, or what they called NBDMS. When that officer called Imbisi was given the administrative rights to the system, he removed all the other admins, and the records then prior could not be found at that point. And that is what we wanted then the executive office of the president to be able to say if they have found that officer and if they've been able to give us. But all the other records that are relevant have been given to the Office of the Auditor General, and they can confirm that.
When you indicate that the records have been given to the OAG and we'll be asking them to confirm, does it mean that the earlier problem you had with access to records, as at our last meeting, has now been resolved?
Well, according to me, that has still not been resolved.
Has still not been resolved?
Yes.
So maybe from OAG, have you gotten the supporting schedules for outdoor advertising?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we received the supporting schedules for the outdoor advertisement. However, we were not able to probe the system to actually counter-check the accuracy and completeness of the figure that had been quoted in the financial statement.
And the inability to probe the system is due to lack of rights?
Yes, Chair, we were told that they didn't have rights. The rights were with the State House Controller.
Okay. I think let's bring in Honorable Kato. And I know that during this period, you are in the corridors of Parliament with us. You are not at NMS, but you. We understand that you took over the residual functions of NMS. What we need from you is an explanation on why Nairobi City County is unable to access records that ideally they own, ideally should be in their custody, particularly with regards to on-source revenue. And the next issue, building plan approvals. I think building plan approvals is also a problem, because you had indicated that building plan approvals were in the custody of defunct MS and had not been surrendered for verification. So maybe let's start, without even getting into the details, the nitty-gritties. Why can't Nairobi get records that ideally they should own?
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the committee. Maybe what I can say at this point is, first of all, this is the first time I'm appearing before this committee on matters before us. And what I can just say is that, Chair, you know, NMS was established on, I think, on 18th March 2020. So in these financial years we are talking about, the 3 financial years, NMS was only in existence for 3 months. The last quarter of the financial year 2019-2020, because it was established on 18th March 2020, that financial year of 1920. So, so the transactions of NMS for that financial year was only in the last quarter, 3 months, April, May, June. Then it was now in existence for the other financial years, the whole of 2020, 2021, and when until it came to its end. So in these 3 months of this financial year we are talking about, maybe not much was transacted within NMS, but I am really available to find out really whether in those 3 months they were not able to, you know, have the access rights as required, those 3 months. But before I even make that commitment, let me give my CFO, who has been there that time, to tell us whether they were not able to access their records for those 3 months of this financial year?
Chair, I feel like the director has not understood the question. It's not about access to the system during those 3 months in that financial year. Our governor here is saying, you know, we suppose that there was a handover ceremony after the end of the NMS term. He is saying even as today, as we speak today, they are unable to access records that belong to the people of Nairobi. Why is that so? That is the question.
Then, Chair, if it is about accessing records after the handover of that ceremony, Senator for Nairobi is talking about, Chair, there was a committee which was formed to actually try to do the handing over of everything. And accessing records, I know my good friend, the governor, we have been in touch throughout, and he has always been telling me that he's not able to access all the records as required. But let me just give my financial officer who sits in that committee to explain the reason, if that is the case, if they were not able to
Maybe a
access.
clarification as we go along.
Yes, Governor.
There are two issues. One, of course, as my senator is saying, there's a current process before this final handover of all the records, you know, and the deeds of innovation. And that, I think, will come in subsequent audits.
Financial year.
The particular query here was not the 3 months of NMS. NMS came in, there was an existing system of construction. They locked out all the county officers, and so we couldn't answer the older questions, 17, 18, 18, 19. So it's not the 3 months that NMS came in 2020. It is during their takeover of that system where this officer who I mentioned, called Mbisi, became the super admin and removed the other admins. That right is what has not been returned. So it's the historical. During the NMS period, a lot of that information, as and when required, can be given to us because we're still waiting for that final handover. The reason we've not hastened the handover is, number one, we don't want any pending bill from NMS. All pending bills from the Executive Office of the President need to be paid at the Executive Office of the President, and that is the agreement we have, because that is where they were incurred. You know, it is the same way pending bills in Nairobi City County Government have not been sent to the NMS or to the national government. And the spirit of transfer of functions is to support the strengthened account. You can now bring them now bills of 16 billion. And I think on that, the status controller will tell you how they have been paying a lot of these ongoing contracts. Our county attorney will explain to you which deeds of innovation have come or what they've paid. And then if a contract is ongoing, we take it over now from there without any pending certificates. So the real query that they came to respond to was that historical data which made us unable to answer the 17, 18, 18.
I think it's a really direct, it's a very, very direct concern. Their role in running Nairobi will come in the 2020, 2021. And I think then we will be expecting you to respond substantively. For now, it's just access to the system that is of concern to the Senate.
Chair.
Senator Cherotey?
Maybe quick things, Governor. One is that we are talking about access, and I can see you are busy with the phone. Maybe you can finish consulting. Okay. No, it's hard for men to multitask unless you are unique. My question is very simple. Have you received all handing over documents? Because, Chair, if not all documents have not been handed, then we might be in a wild goose chase. Because if we have all the documents, so has their proper documents been handed over to you, all documents from NMS especially, when we'll, for example, Chair, the issue of fiscal planning department, for example, if we would want a document, will it be possible to access? That is to the governor. And finally, to the Auditor General, which year did you audit? I've had the State House Controller, Mheshimiwa Kato, saying that it was the last quarter of that financial year. So when do the NMS appear, in which financial year? And how did you audit the county government in that financial year, considering there were 4 transferred functions at that point? And finally, on the access to the system, Governor, so if this officer cannot be found that was super admin and remove all the admin to that access that you are talking about, do you have now full control of access to the collection? Because if you're having a super user, they can log everybody out and decide to take everything from Nairobi. Do you now have access? Thank you, Chair. Those are my 3
Okay,
questions.
let's first allow
Chair.
the finance officer from the executive, national executive, to respond on the specific issue of access to systems. Then we come, and the difficulties, if any. Then we come to the handover. We come to the Auditor General. Then I'll come back to Senator Nyonka.
Chair, I am not the finance person. I'm the legal secretary, but I'll take the question. When it comes to the issue of Mr. Mbisi and the access to e-construction and even the other brotherly issue of NRS, the question is, we are in the process of concluding the final report of handing over, and this issue of access is part of the report. We have already supplied the draft report to the county. In less than 2 weeks, we will be doing the final handover of NMS, all the residual functions or anything, documentation that remained on the part of NMS will be handed over back to the Nairobi County. And then in the meantime, what we have done is that we have novated any other function that had not been done or that was pending. That is including framework contracts that were for 3 years. And it is a complex issue in the sense that these officers were not officers that were drawn from one body in the national government. They were officers drawn from all over national government, and why it has taken longer even to have the report is because the 3 months that we had been given by the AG and that committee was consumed because of recalling the officers from the different places they were. But we appreciate the issue, and it is part of the issue that we have covered in the draft handover report.
Now, Kipchumba, I know we've met in other fora outside, but on this, I think you missed the point. The Auditor General wants to probe this system to confirm whether the building permits tie with what has been reported. The outdoor advertising ties with what has been reported. The Auditor General is saying, open the server. The Governor of Nairobi is saying, open the server. Please don't give us a Venezuelan story. This is a simple matter of allowing the Auditor General to probe that system and providing access, read-only access, not super user access. The county government does not want to alter the data. The county government wants read-only access so that they can be able to respond to the issues raised by the Auditor General. That cannot be tied to the process that you have described.
Actually, Chairman, if you allow, this system is no longer in use. It is the old system. And Senator Thirikari, right now we're in full control of all our systems as a county. This is because of historic data of 1718, 1819, 1920 that the Auditor General required that we had no access. It is the old one. For now, everything is for us to answer.
It's read-only access.
It's read-only.
You don't need to make any reconciliations or adjustments.
It's the same way when we closed life forms. Life forms is available to our teams only read-only because now it's in Nairobi Pay.
So please, could you just help us get a solution? I hope now you've understood. It's a very specific thing that we want. The bigger things can be delivered within the timelines that have been agreed.
Oh, and maybe, Mr. Chairman, if you'd allow me, I would then want to know what the governor explains looks a very straightforward and easy thing. What is the difficulty in allowing the county to access the information so that they are able to respond to audit issues?
I think, Chair, thank you for that clarification. What has to be understood is that the process of winding up NMS, we found it at a time when the people who carried over the functions of NMS disappeared, and then we had now to write to individual parastatals and counties where they came from. And even some of those officers, we wrote to the county,
Chair.
the chief of...
Okay, what's the point of order, Senator Nyonka?
Kipchumba, you know you are my friend.
Yes.
I don't know why you are struggling with that answer. All you needed to do is get this fella who has got the super
User
PIN or password. If it's not there, all you should tell us as a legal mind is that we looked for this guy and he's not there. Or we have arrested him, or we have asked him and this is what he has said. But the way you are trying to explain it, you are leaving me begin to wonder, what? You know, when you ask those questions now I'm beginning to ask questions.
Senator Mtata, what's the point of order?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that we can be told that people disappeared. This entity called General Mbadi, does it exist? And is it known where he is? Because if the records, he's the one who was in charge of the institution. So how can people disappear from under him?
Okay.
So I think we should give some seriousness to the questions being asked.
I think let's adopt a serious attitude, because otherwise by this time Kato would have released you. But there's a point of order from Senator Mofaya.
Yeah, Chair, I think I have just listened to my good brother Garore, and I have not seen any sense of commitment, because 1 year down the line we are talking of people who have gone missing. I'm very sure these people are civil servants. Bandi is known where he is. This other Supangai must be a civil servant as well. So I don't think, Chair, there is any seriousness in this matter. So I think we had better pronounce ourselves that we should not hold Governor Chakaja's office in ransom.
Senator Dulo, point of order?
Chair, I think this matter is very simple. And the most important thing we want to hear from State House is for them to tell us whether it's possible to access the system. And if not, what is the problem? And what are you doing about it? It's as simple as that.
Senator Thirikari?
Chair, maybe what I can say is that, unless some people are new in Jerusalem, what I can say is that in this country people can disappear, and that's not in contention. What I can advise the State House Controller, to assist the committee. Of course, in this country where people disappearing, it is not news, and it is not something unique. But while we can assist...
Thirikari, let's not normalize injustice.
No, I'm not normalizing. Chair, can you listen to what I have to say first so that you rule?
Yes, proceed.
You have been making snaking remarks, importing some things from politics to the serious issue of the committee. Mine is simple, Chair. What I wanted to say is very simple. Karori had said, and the State House Controller, that some people disappeared and they have written letters. As a committee, what the good State House Controller should do, and being a chairman, a former chair of defense for a long time and a minister of defense, should just provide the letters that they have written to those individuals to show that there was follow-up of those specific individuals, because they are civil servants. We cannot just wish away that some civil servants can refuse to appear or even assist. And I agree that we should not hold Governor Sakaja at ransom simply because somebody somewhere is sleeping on their job. The issue is that the NMS, who is a State House Controller, who had taken over the winding up, to just produce the letters to this committee to show that individuals have been summoned or a specific directions has been issued. Then we can allow Senator Sakaja to proceed with running of the Nairobi City County.
Okay, let's allow now and Auditor General.
Just one intervention, please.
Senator Sifuna?
Chair, you know our intention is to help the county of Nairobi to work. Under Article 125, we as a committee have the powers to summon any person to appear here. If the governor has identified the person who's a problem, we don't need to be taken round in circles in State House. This committee should just summon this individual called Imbisi we will know if he's alive or dead. And he needs to appear here. We have our own ways of making sure that people appear here. And on that particular day of the appearance, we can walk across the road with him to City Hall and grant access to the governor and his people. We don't have to take answers that lead us nowhere in this committee. We shouldn't waste time.
Now, let's, the reason why we have decided to spend a little time on this, Auditor General, you had an analysis because you are dealing with on-source revenue. And we want the Auditor General to assure us that the 10 billion that has been reported as collected is the true amount. Now, Auditor General, you had an analysis from your own review of the variances between what is in the financial statement and what has been collected as per your analysis. Could you just run us through that so that we can now explain the importance of this particular matter? Because perhaps State House does not appreciate why we are insisting on this as a starting point.
Thank you, Chair. The reason as to why we request for access to the system is for us to confirm that whatever has been declared in the financial statements is accurate and complete. However, we could not confirm that because after having extracted some of the data, we noticed that there was variance between what we have extracted and what is reported in the financial statements. So it's only the system that can now give us the true picture. Therefore, in 2018-19, from our analysis, we had a figure of around 13 billion. In 2017-18,
13 billion as?
On generated revenue.
Against a report of?
9 billion.
Just confirm from your numbers.
10 billion, 17-18 it was 10 billion, 157, 594, 130. That is what is in the financial statements. But from the extras that we did, we had a figure of 13 billion, 971, 466, 855. So for if at all we can be granted access to the system, then we may be able to get the exact true figure that is supposed to have been reported.
Be able to explain the variance of 3.9 billion.
Yes, Chair.
And do you have the variances for 18-19 and 19-20? That is 3 billion in just one financial year.
Chair, as the Auditor General is looking at that matter, I also would want her to confirm to us how many different systems of revenue did the Nairobi County government have during that time? Was it only one? Were they two? Were they three? And what was it?
OAG?
On the number of systems, we cannot confirm the number of systems they are using because you only picked what they gave us. Now, for us to be able to establish how many systems are there is for us to probe the system.
It's for them to identify the systems and give you access to those systems.
Yes.
So, Mheshimiwa Kato, this is why this is serious.
Yes.
In the analysis given by the Auditor General, there is a variance of an average of 4 billion between what they consider to have been collected and what was reported.
Yeah.
And in 3 financial years, you are talking of 10 billion plus. And that is why we must give access to the auditors to those systems.
Yep.
That is a specific thing that we are asking for. So please,
Chair,
give us an undertaking.
Chair, thank you, Chair. Chair, and I take committee's work very seriously, Parliament work very seriously. So I grew for 20 years. So I understand very well. Actually, the Honorable Senator for Nairobi had taken, said what I wanted to say, because I just wanted to propose the way forward that if the handing over committee were not able to summon some individuals to provide information, then just give me 2 days from today, because I don't see it in the that committee. handing over committee, but I'll now take it over for 2 days, trying to get the individuals that this handing over committee were not able to bring on board to provide the information required. If we fail to get them, take it over as a committee and discharge your duty, summon anyone to appear before this honorable committee. Now that even the officer is known, but just give me 2 days to find out if I will get that person. And I believe I will.
Maybe just let's, Governor, does that, is that going to be helpful?
Chair, first I also sympathize with Honorable Kato, because as you've said, during this time he was in the corridors of Parliament, just like I was as well. I've had a lot of cooperation from Honorable Kato and the Executive Office on everything else but this. Chair, I first asked about this officer last year. I first asked the Executive Office, Mr. Osia, the, I think, Administrative Secretary. I asked even Badi. On this one issue, Chair, I have sent to the clerk the letter that was written from NMS to the County Secretary of Nairobi at that time, Musumba. And if you look at the letter, which I believe should be with you now, it shows the genesis of this issue. Yeah, access to e-construction and e-development system management. And then it names the officer, Simon Imbisi. His personal number is there. His ID number is there. I am not sure what would happen in 2 days that has not happened all these months that I've been asking for this individual. And so I would request you to deal with it as a committee, because you can summon any individual to come just give access to that historical data. That data is important to us, not just for audit, but also for our analysis of all this data. For us to know who are continuing customers, who have done what development approvals were done in what area. It's very important information for us as a county. And also, the numbers that I'm hearing today, I would really like an analysis of that revenue. I've never had 13 billion as revenue. I think we all know the highest was, I think, was it 11.6 in 2015-16. So it will be good to see what that is there. I agree. 100%.
Could I, Governor, under the standing orders, you can't ask the Auditor General not to tell us what they have found. I think your job is to just say, I don't have that information. I hope the Auditor General will give it to me.
You misunderstood me.
Okay.
I've said I am very interested in that information.
Yes.
Because their numbers I've never had. The higher the number that Nairobi collects, the better for what we're trying to do. I'm really excited that it's possible that they could be. That is why, and when you go into the activities we've done, the interventions,
yes,
we're bringing all this revenue in.
Have you ever had a management meeting with the Auditor General's office? They would tell you.
Yes, many times.
So why didn't you ask them?
No, this has never come up in terms of the actual number, 13 billion. Okay, the Auditor General will confirm.
Now,
Mr. Chairman,
we need to agree on how to proceed on this big issue. Senator Mathabu.
Yeah, I need to ask from our brother Karori, who seems to be having very many friends around. He says that they have been looking for officers. That is why it has taken very long. Have you ever heard of this man Simon Imbisi in the course of looking for the officers? Because this looks a very important officer that the Director General of NMS himself had to write to the County Secretary, and I don't know whether it is directed or requested that he is given rights, and then he kicked out all the other people. Yeah. This is the person who has, because these are pointed to not to very good things. He was given rights, he removed the other people, and he's the person that has made the county, has handicapped the county. They are not able to answer to all the questions because they are not able to access the system. And the person who was given rights is Simon Imbisi. Have you gotten to hear of him?
Chair, there is something that I need to contextualize. Why we were looking for one Simon Imbisi, number one, was to try and locate the e-assets of NMS. Because when we were working on the report, we wanted to have an inventory of the assets of NMS.
But maybe let me stop here just before you go on. Just before you go on, because now this one will become a little. If it was the county that was saying that, would take it as an answer. But now this is the national government, a person whose personal number is known, a person whose ID number is known, so he's an employee of government, and you want to tell us that you cannot get hold of that person.
Kato?
Chair, I actually plead with you and the committee because, as I said, this has just come to me now because I'm not in the that committee, but I'm informed of this. Just give me, just even today, and I can assure you that we will get that person.
Chair,
And
we have no reason to have the State House control. I think he's up to
if he's, I can even come back tomorrow.
Okay.
If I will not be able to get him, then I will leave it to the committee to summon.
I find it I know a better answer that the State House controller says that he can be able to get Simon Mbisi either in person or get to know why he's not able to, so that you're able to move.
The reason why I am asking for, even if it is just today and come back tomorrow, having been on that side, I understand the adverse, effect of the summon. So I wanted to give the benefit of doubt because I've not looked for him myself. Let me take that responsibility to look for this person. He's a civil servant. He's a government officer, and then if I won't get him, then I will now leave it to the committee.
Okay. Now we need to contextualize whether the problem is personal or institutional.
Correct.
Because it might not be a personal problem. It might be a deeper institutional problem. And that is the manner in which transferred functions revert back to the entity that transferred them in the first place. But I think some of those conversations will be had in the devolution committee, which ideally should supervise that transition. Could we get our final thoughts on this matter? Then we provide direction. In our earlier conversation with the Auditor General, we had said that matters to do with ONSOS and the issues that we are now hearing from the presidency call for a special forensic audit, because we are talking of 10 billion reported versus 14 billion collected as per the Auditor General. The only way to close that gap for the various financial years is to do a forensic audit. And I think that was a position that we took earlier. Now, let me get the final views of the members, and then we agree on the way forward, because there are still bigger issues ahead of us. Senator Omtata, you had asked for an intervention?
Yes, I'd asked for an intervention, but I just wanted to let the officers who are appearing before us that this particular exercise is very important for devolution. A whole governor of the biggest and most important county in this country, in terms of population, in terms of the economy, in terms of all those things, is telling us that he's been hamstrung by the process of handing over from that. And you say there's a provision in the Constitution for handing over functions across from the county to the national government and back. So this being the first time it happened in this country, it is something that is going to inform how this process takes place in future. And we would like to get it right in terms of the finances and transparency between the two governments and the public. So please give it the weight it deserves. And as a Senate, whose primary function is to protect counties, we don't want to see any governor crying that the executive is stressing him. Number two, you are the PS for State House, not just any ministry. State House is the PS for the president. So we cannot accept that from where you sit, there's a stone too big to turn in the civil service. Or that when you turn that stone and look under it, what you see is too scaring for you to tell us what you have seen. So what we want is that every stone must be turned, and whatever you see under that stone must be told to everybody in open daylight. This is very important, and I would be persuaded by your request that we give you some time to turn whatever stone needs to be turned, to look under that stone and to tell us what you find. That one I will agree. And I will persuade my chair, if it's agreeable, to allow you the prayer you have made, so that we don't end up in this circus.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Senator Mtata. Senator Dulo?
Chair, I agree with Senator Mtata that we give the State House Controller today, as he has requested, failure for that individual to be found by tomorrow. We should issue someone as a committee. Number 3, we should go by the decision of actually subjecting this issue of revenue to forensic audit, as we agreed before. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mofwan.
Chair, I have no reason as to why, as a committee, we are not supposed to trust State House Controller. I don't know of any civil servant who would defy a call or a summons from the State House Controller. So let's trust Honorable Controller, and I'm sure he has just confessed that this matter just came before him today. So I think between today and tomorrow we are going to have Ibirisi. Is it Ibirisi or what is it? What do you call it? Is it Ibirisi or Ibisi or somebody before us? Maybe if then from there we can unlock the stalemate at Honorable Chakaja's office. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Senator Methu?
Mr. Chairman, I also would want to agree with Senator, my brother Senator Katana, that we know the individual will be found because we can see the tone of the State House Controller. But again, just as you've said, even if we are to find him today or tomorrow, there's not much that can be done. The governor says, there's not much that can be done between now and tomorrow, because there's so much that, once you access the system, then you're able to draw your responses. So I'm also persuaded by your suggestion that we subject the whole thing to forensic audit, so that we can be able to get answers for this once and for all.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna.
Yeah, Chair, I think there's a point that you made there that I want to reinforce, that there is indication of a greater systemic problem. Honorable Kato, we have no problem with you. This was not during your time. But you imagine the danger that we are in, that one individual, the password to all this information is in the head of one person, who can catch a stray canister of tear gas tomorrow, and that is the end. We will never get into the system. There has to be a way where this information is protected from an institution as NMS. Surely, even when he was leaving his service, was there no handover that was done? Like somebody can just disappear with such critical information, and if we don't find him alive, for instance, what happens to this information? How can one individual stop an audit of an entire county's revenue for 3 financial years, and that we will never know because he's the only person who has a password? There's a problem there, Chair. Number 2, Auditor, I would want to confirm something that the governor has said here. That this question of the variance, you are only bringing it up here before the committee. Yet you have been having all these meetings with the county government of Nairobi. How is it possible that the issue of those variances has never been... This is the first time he's hearing those figures you're quoting. Is that accurate?
Through Chair. Thank you. The aspect of variances, it's even in our report. So we went ahead to probe the system because they provided the documents to us. However, whatever we came up from the documents that were now provided, when you are verifying the responses, we found out that the figure that we extracted from the records that they had given us, vis-a-vis what had been reported.
What was that figure?
Can we be pointed to the document?
Yeah,
what the report has that?
You can help us with that?
I've never seen that.
Huko chini kwa shamba la jirani, kasema hebu tuende tumuone. Nikaenda
Hii ni taarifa kuu halisi na sahihi.
Kundi la vijana kutoka jamii za wafugaji kaunti ya Pokot Magharibi lafanya hamasisho na kutoa wito kwa jamii za Pokot, Turkana na Marakwet zenye utata wa mipaka kuzika tofauti zao na kukumbatia amani.
Hii ni watu hata hawana imani na hawana huruma na hawana kabisa na huruma na mtu yote katika area hii yetu.
Imechinjiwa kwa barabara Murithi, imagine. Sasa watu wali wamefika, sasa watakuja kutuchinja.
Na sasa tutachukua sheria mkononi sababu hawa watu wametusubua sana.
Wenyeji wa Kirinyaga wana hofu baada ya nyakati zikidhiri. Wamejitoa uhai machamaji.
Hii ni taarifa kuu.